Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of In the Prog Seat. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night. We are steamrolling through the alphabet. We've only got a few letters left, so we're going to start kind of lumping them together so we can finish this up before 2022 is over with. Today, we're going to do P, Q, and R. Let me introduce the cast before we get started. So he's back from tour. Louis Nasser, back in Chicago, back from Mexico. We've got Eric Porter. Our center square is Chad Hutchinson tonight, taking Chuck's seat. Chuck Alvarez is with us. George Lemay is with us. And the professor of prog, Ken Golden from Laser's Edge. Greetings, gentlemen.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
You guys ready for P? Well, that's kind of a loaded question. I think any of us really.
At my age, man, you're always ready.
You're always got to be ready, right?
Something tells me Ken has lived ready for this moment. For P.
Oh, yeah,
that's possible.
So Peter, are we gonna follow the trend, and this episode's gonna go off about 1 o'clock in the morning?
No. It'll go off at a regular time tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. Last night was kind of a weird situation. So yeah, no. Hudson Valley Squares. So all right, so we'll get started here. Louis, welcome back.
Hello.
Kick us off with your 3 for P and your honorable mentions.
All right. Well, this is hard as usual. But I guess my one of them has to be PFM. Per un amico. I mean, come on, right? This is an automatic. Any one of the records are great, but this one in particular is one I'm very fond of. So that is PFM, Premiata Forneria Marconi. My number 2 for P, I'm really torn. I don't know which one to pick. So I guess I'm going to have to go ahead and pick this particular outfit. This is not a band that I always love, but I really, really love this record. This is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this album or this band, but this is Pixie Ninja from Norway. Although, of course, the ever-present Matthias Olsen is on drums. This particular album is called The Colors Out of Space, and it's spelled with a U in the color in the proper British way. And it's very much Lovecraft-induced stuff, but it's all instrumental. It's got some really, I don't know if you can really see it without the glare. I do apologize, but it's a great record. I love this one, and I gotta say, my all-time favorite P album right now. I'm gonna go with Praxis Profanation.
Good choice.
This is so fucking badass, it hurts. So I absolutely love this one. And I know there are other great P bands, and I trust that George will have my back with at least 2 of them. So I'm happy not to mention those right now.
I did not mention that we put Pink Floyd into the Hall of Fame for this round. So this,
yeah, of course.
Right? Totally forgot about that. Cool. All right, Louis, why don't you rattle? Should we? Well, we'll circle back for the honorables, I guess. Right? Or should? Yeah.
Or should I just go ahead and just show them fast? Whatever you prefer.
Let's go around. That way, Louis doesn't take everybody's picks.
I might still do that.
Hey, listen. Hey, Matthias Olsen is only in so many bands.
That's right. And never forget, I'm the reason the Mona Lisa has that grin on her face.
Keep your pants up, Louis.
See where my hand goes.
Even in the museums.
They are up. I'm wearing them. Look, pants.
All right. Well, next time you're in the Louvre, keep them on.
No promises there.
Oh man, you guys, man.
All right, Eric, what do you got for us?
All right. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I will go with the obvious. I'm going with Porcupine Tree at number 3. Did a lot of listening to them when they were out. Really enjoyed Steve Wilson's solo career. Enjoyed the new one. The comeback record was good. Can't say I had listened to them in a while. I kind of got into his solo stuff, so that got more interesting for me. Really enjoyed some of his solo band stuff. But Porcupine Tree, great catalog. Chad, obviously, I saw them at Near Fest 01. Thank you for that. Couldn't afford to go see him on this tour, so that's the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah.
At number 2, I'm going with Simon Phillips and Protocol. Absolutely love this. This is 4. Greg Howe is on this one. Absolutely fantastic. Alex Sill on the latest. Killer. A lot of Holdsworth influence from him, but even the previous ones, Andy Timmons, all good, really good guitar stuff. And I have to give number 1 to Jean-Luc. This is an enigmatic ocean, but any of his 70s stuff is fantastic. And I know, Chad, you're making your way through his catalog. So
Overdue.
love Jean-Luc, love the violin. Gotta have it. So that's my number 1 for P.
Cool. Speaking of Chad, you're up.
All right. My number 1 is going to be, this might lean more towards George than anybody else, but I'm a really big fan of the first John Petrucci solo album. I think he does some great riffing on here, some amazing playing. We all know how good he is, but there's just a lot of memorable, cool hooks on here. Great solo record. Second one's good too. Like the first one better. Number 2, I'm going to echo some of Eric there with Porcupine Tree, but I'm going to go with Fear of a Blank Planet. I like the 2 before this a lot as well. They got heavier then with Dark Deadwing and In Absentia, but I like the way everything came together on here. I like the longer tracks. Also sounds great in 5-1. And my number 1 P is Pure Reason Revolution. British band with the Pink Floyd vibes. Came over and played Nearfest 07, I believe it was. Just, great, good ethereal stuff. And then it kicks up and goes on to another level with some heavier riffing and some ethereal vocals and, male and female vocals. Great band in Pure Reason Revolution. If you haven't heard them, they're a pretty damn good band. There's my top 3.
Cool. Chuck.
All right. Make it quick. All right. Good evening, gentlemen. All right.
Evening.
Once again, my first one is Présent.
Yes.
Second is one of the few newer bands that I'm into. The Potter Band. Potter's Daughter. And then my last one over here is Pato, their debut album.
That's
Good album.
Yeah.
All right, so those are my 3. Try to get it done as quick as possible.
I like that Présent pick. That's a pretty neat album there. Neat, scary, ominous.
That's a dark band.
It is.
It really is, man.
I can
Wonderful.
never think of them without picturing the guy with the pipe on stage at Nearfest. That was
Well,
terrifying.
they have Daniel Denis on percussion also, right? So
Yeah.
How could it not be awesome?
Love that guy.
Chuck, what's that Potter's? What is
Potter's Daughter.
What is it?
Potter's Daughter. What's it? She's pretty much a classical jazz influenced musician whose band is pretty much in the Renaissance, aka Yes type of vein, and so pretty good band, man. They're very good.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard and reviewed not their last album, but the one before it. So I guess 2-3 years ago, maybe something like that. Yeah, it's good band. All right, George, with the cool Rush hoodie there.
My number 3 is from LA.
Two Rush here at Planet X. There you go.
I knew it. This is why I love George. Well done, sir.
3 albums, all of equal quality, instrumental prog metal, heavy on odd meter, lots of flash playing, serious shit. There's no softies on any of this stuff. If you like instrumental stuff, they're a must. Number 2 is from San Diego, Psychotic Waltz.
Nice. See, I knew it.
Non-keyboard prog metal, like a Sabbath and a Tull vibe.
The delayed reaction scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, me too.
No flash playing here. This is more cleverness, cool songwriting. All 5 albums, really good stuff. A little psych edge too. Number 1's from Germany, Panzer Ballet.
Nice.
7 albums. Hard to describe. If there's anybody band that's truly jazz metal, it's probably them. The really quirky, really heavy, a little bit of everything. It's like a blender band, big time. Metalheads and jazzers alike dig Panzer Ballet. Got Check them out.
Great band.
Mhm.
Cool. Ken,
P is so deep. I mean, like Psychotic Waltz didn't even like cross my mind. You mentioning it, I'm like, geez, how do you get them? They're so great. Okay, so of course, as usual, I'm going rogue. So my Hall of Fame, I got Pink Floyd, but I also stuck PFM in there because
Mhm.
to me, their body of work is just goes without saying. So my top three band that I mentioned when we did the French show, Pulsar, Halloween. Their first three albums are just money in the bank. This is their third album, dark, symphonic, a lot of flute, one of the great Mellotron albums of all time, just spacey, just really incredible stuff, man. This is one of those ones you listen with the lights out and the hairs on your arms start, they stand up. Next one that I had, Passport, Klaus Stoldinger, sax player, one of the all-time greats, and really kind of an important band. A lot of great players went in and out of this band. Jimmy Jackson, Udo Lindenberg, who became a big pop star in Germany later on. Udo was the drummer. This is the first album, and Jimmy Jackson.
Kurt
Yeah.
Kress. Mhm.
Yeah, well, Kurt Kress was in there. Yeah, I guess he replaced Lindenberg. And Jimmy Jackson, he was in Amadou, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he was.
So, so my number two band is Passport, and my number three band is a band that I don't know why, but they just don't seem to get as much recognition as they should. From Italy, another great jazz rock band, Parigio. So I think Parigio, quite kind of like Weather Report. They really kind of assimilated all different sounds. You get a little Bitches Brew in there, Miles Davis. You get Weather Report. A little later on, you get some Return to Forever. There's some great electric guitar work on here from Tony Sidney. So it's not exactly like Weather Report, but Claudio Fasoli on sax, Giovanni Tommaso on bass. Great, as I said, a great body of work. They really just always put out consistently good albums, always worth exploring. Parigio. Those are my three Ps.
cool. I like your Passport pick.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that.
I think like
Same
Passport
here.
were doing like kind of like that smoother jazz thing in the 70s that you saw a lot of in the 80s, saxophone led stuff and really nice melodies, great playing, great musicians, but not quite as intense as like Mahavishnu and Return to Forever and those type of so
Once they hit like there was one Passport 2.
Yeah.
That was kind of but everything else, Infinity Machine, Handmade, all
Plus
those
Collateral.
Gloss killer albums.
Yep.
And came out in the US. You could find them cheap. The CDs were released here on Wounded Bird. They're around. Absolutely, Passport. If you like jazz rock fusion, Passport, gotta hear them. Gotta have them.
They have a nice box set you can get on Amazon with like the first 6 or 7 records. It's great.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Doldinger,
I actually discovered that band. I saw them with my cousin. He had an album and I loved the cover, but I was like 11. And at that time, if you didn't sound like fucking Iron Maiden, I had no time for you. So I wasn't interested. And then later, thanks to this channel and Pete talking about them, I went ahead and I bought the album. Really great. So
Yeah, they had those cool album covers.
oh yeah, that one artist, I don't remember his name, is consistently doing the covers.
Not a lot of guitar though, right? Did they?
No.
Yeah,
And-
but they're very
no.
similar to Weather Report. Mhm.
Yeah,
At times, yep.
really treacherous keyboard work. I mean, and Doldinger is just an amazing player. There's Mellotron on the albums.
Mhm.
It's great
great
shit.
shit.
Yeah, really great stuff.
Uh-oh,
What are you
we
gonna
mentioned,
do?
we mentioned Mellotron a couple times already on the show.
I know people are getting drunk, right? Yeah, out there getting hammered.
Nobody cares about a Mellotron, right? That's
what I heard.
That's what I'm told anyway.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, what is that thing anyway?
That's what I'm told. Anyway. All right. My number 3, Planet X. Pick whichever one you want. They're all great. Derek
Yep.
Sherinian, McAlpine, Donati, killer instrumental, fusion metal, whatever the hell you want to call it. Gotta go PFM. Again, first two albums are absolutely legendary. Every other day I have a different favorite between the two of them, but just one of the greats of all time of 70s Italian prog. And my number one has to be Jean-Luc Ponty.
Yes.
And, I generally go with Enigmatic Ocean as my favorite, but man, those 70s albums are so good. And, he gets lumped into the fusion category, and I think rightfully so, but man, you listen to a lot of these albums, it's really not much different than a lot of the prog that was kind of going around the same time. Just obviously, it's got a jazzier flavor and you got the violin, but man, a lot of the song structures and the way he arranges, it's just as much prog as it is fusion for me. So those are my top three. And we'll go back to Lewis. Let's rattle off our honorables.
Don't forget Stevens.
Oh, yes.
Stevens, yes.
Thank you. Okay. See, I knew I was going to forget. All right. So his number 3 is Pure Reason Revolution. And he picked the 2020 release Eupnea, I guess is how you say it.
Okay.
Number 2, The Pineapple Thief. And he picked also the 2020 release Versions of the Truth. And then his number 1 was Porcupine Tree, Dead Wing, specifically from 2005.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Now back to Lewis.
All right, so I'm going to skip things that have already been mentioned, like Present and things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and name them. Pain of Salvation is a band that I really liked a lot more in the early days than I do nowadays. This record in particular, I think, is nearly flawless. I love it. This is Remedy Lane. This is a guy who he's controversial. I like his music and I like him, but I've heard it said both ways. I'm talking about Fido, and this is Infernal. He's got a lot of records, and the dude, he's had a long career. So this is a good album. If you're not familiar with Fido, I will start with this one. I want to shout out to an oldie but goldie, Payne's Gray. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this band, but I love it. I love this record. It's just my love for all things Lovecraft just shines with these guys. It's awesome. So Payne's Gray, just a fantastic.
Yeah, they imploded. They could never do a second album. That was a shame. Yeah,
it's too bad, but they're great. I love them. I love these guys. I want to give some love to Execution Ground by Painkiller. People who don't know familiar with Painkiller, you should get on that stuff. This is the usual subharmonic Bill Laswell sort of thing, but there's nothing usual about it. It's very much its own thing. So either you're into this kind of stuff or you're not. I want to mention this particular album. I believe this band is from Sweden. It's from 2004. It's Pathos. And this album is called Kalokane. I fucking love this record. It's so pretty, so ambient. It's great. And the vocalist, she's just amazing. I love this record.
It reminds me a little bit of Sylvie from White Willow.
Yeah. And a little shout out to a band I just discovered on tour. It's an instrumental 3-piece that I think Ken would really dig. They have elements of psych, they have elements of prog, they have elements of like Jimi Hendrix kind of hard rock. Primate, or in English I should say Primate, but it's a Mexican band. And the album is called Sapiens Demens. This is some shit, folks. All instrumental. These are just like little demos. You can they come with little plastic bags and they have the pissed off ape. They're good. The shit is really, really good. So a big shout out to these guys, because I didn't know these guys. I never heard them. Suddenly I'm on tour with them. First night of the tour, they hit the stage and I'm like, what the fuck? We're supposed to follow that shit, right? But yeah, Primate, good shit. Very good shit.
Cool. All right, Eric.
All right, I really only have one that hasn't been mentioned. You guys mentioned PFM. I got to throw Planet X because I got to give Derek some love. Protocol. I really like these two. Early Kansas, I guess, was the vocalist Lynn Meredith, really good vocalist, and they had a sax flute player instead of the violin. But really good stuff. Kerry Livgren, his writing is great. It's similar, but it has its differences. But if you like Kansas, I know you'd like Protocol.
Eric, did the sax player wear overalls?
No, he did not. Well, not as far as I know.
You're pissing a lot of people off.
I thought it was a prerequisite, I'm sorry.
It was.
This was going to happen to Ken after this show. The painkiller
Who
thing
cares
is
what
going
you
to
wear?
happen to him.
Who cares?
All right, Chad.
That's awesome.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna rip through my whole list. Some of these have been mentioned, but PFM for
Mhm.
sure. Same album that Luis just mentioned by Patos. Great album. I
Okay.
go George here with Panzer Ballet. I'm going with the first one here. I need to add more to my collection from these guys, but I really like this one. One that has not been mentioned at all, the Alan Parsons Project.
Hmm.
And I'm going to go with iRobot. It's one that's a little more off kilter than the rest, but I would go with this just for the title track. That's an In the Dark song for me. Love that. Funky fusion band from early, geez, what was this? 2004, Particle. If you remember these guys, they put a new album out last year. Also quite good, but this first one, Launchpad's great. Newer, I'll say newer, but not new, Italian band, Preferia del Mondo. Nice Italian stuff. Planet X, of course. Japanese band, a little off kilter, got some nice heaviness. I think this might be in Luis's wheelhouse. Polchikaite Malko.
Uh-huh.
It's their only album.
Luis, you would like that.
Recommend.
I'm going to have
checking
to
that
get
one out.
that. All
What
right.
about
Really,
George? Have you
really
heard of that,
good stuff.
George?
No,
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah, they
surprised.
were kind of
Really good
fucked up. They
stuff.
were good.
Mhm.
Thanks to Eric for the push. Mr. Ponte's got to get in here, and I'm going to go with Enigmatic Ocean. I picked up this 5-album set, which is fantastic. As you guys said, you can pick any 5 of these, but I listened to this again last night. That's just killer. Luis, I cannot believe you did not bring up Priam from France.
Ah, yeah.
Prog fusion stuff, instrumental, very cool stuff. Eric and George, if you don't know these guys, check them out.
Yes.
Present and Protocol. Pulsar is on my list. I don't have the album in front of me. I picked Strands of the Future. And my last one is an album I got this year on recommendation from I think George and Ken. That's Pyramid Theorem. Good prog metal. The album's called Beyond the Exosphere. The first song's 18 minutes long. Cool stuff. Check it out. That's
Yeah.
my list.
A lot of good stuff there. Chuck.
All right. You don't want to go too fast again, but I'm also gonna go with Fido. And I'm also gonna go with my last one, which is Fish's first album. And that's it. Mhm.
All right.
I get nothing out of that Fido stuff. I don't know what it is. I tried. I also met the guy.
Hey, man, it is what it is,
Yep.
I know a lot of people
I-
like it. I don't get it.
I had never even heard it until I was told I had to play it because he was doing a show here in Chicago. So I just learned it. And then I discovered in the learning that I kind of dug it. And then with time, I got a hold of some of the records, and then Fido gave me some more. And
Doesn't he do music for soap operas?
no, he
No.
does. He directs soap operas.
He's like the director for General
Yeah.
Hospital, isn't he?
Yes.
I think the General Hospital.
And he's doing quite well with that. And that's how he's able to
He sends
finance.
sometimes you get invoices on the back of a script page from the script. He recycles.
He's a cool dude, man. I gotta tell you, first contact is always odd, but once you break the ice, he's a very cool guy.
But he's a nice
Just
guy.
Funny you say
man.
that. My one and only contact with him was not positive. I'll leave
This
it
is
at
what I mean. So this doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I'm just saying,
I heard they were very good. I heard the band was very good live.
they are very good. In spite of me, they were good.
Oh, you played in the band?
Yeah, because they did a show in Chicago, and
Oh,
Matthew
geez.
Kennedy, who was the normal bass player, was ill. He couldn't make the trip, so I subbed in for him.
Love Matt. He's the man.
Matt is one of my dearest friends, and he's a great player.
All right, George.
33 albums. John Luke Ponte.
Mhm.
Had to pick him. Had to pick a different album. And I know one Pete likes from Norway. Pagan's Mind, sci-fi, power prog. The lyrics are kind of laughable, but damn so soft.
Hey, George, can you hold that up again for Ken? Yeah, Ken, there you go.
No, I
satisfied
believe
now?
me, I've
Feel better?
sold so many copies of that album. The cover is ingrained.
They're putting the tits in
My
prog
eyeballs.
metal. Well done.
I forgot to pull it, but I second
Keys and metal.
Pain of Salvation and Pyramid Theory, my second those two. That's it.
Cool. Ken?
All right, I had at one point, I think I had about 30 letter P's and I cut it way down. So I'm going to do this alphabetically. From Brazil, Hermeto Pascal, and I'm sure I just ruined his last name. The very, very mega talented Brazilian multi-instrumentalist. People compare him to Zappa. No humor, just very complex music, very progressive, jazz rock. All his albums are. There's one called Slaves Mass, which I just couldn't get my my fingers on. I don't know to show it. It's got Ron Carter on it. A lot of the like LA, jazz session guys. Great record. Hermeto Pascal. It's a rare one from Greece. I'm kind of flexing a little bit here, but it happens to be a great album. PLJ band, Armageddon, very kind of spacey, Pink Floyd-like. It was actually it was considered to be blasphemy by the Greek government. It was withdrawn, like only 500 copies were pressed, and then it was withdrawn. It's not out on CD. Came out on this was what, Polydor? Vertigo. Came out on Vertigo.
What
Great.
was so blasphemous about it?
And anything, I don't remember. It was all kind of religious. Yeah, it's prophecies and anything that was
Greece,
like religious.
man.
Yeah, the Greek government was clamping down on it. Great, it happens to be a great record. Probably the best Greek prog album. From
Over 666, Aphrodite's Child.
I think so. In my
Good
opinion,
band
yeah,
from
I
Greece,
think it is
too.
better album than six. And I like 666. Pekka Pajola, the great
Oh
bass
yeah. Fuck.
yep, the great bass player from Woodrow.
It's not like we didn't have, like we've known about this for 2 weeks now.
No, but as I said, Chuck, I was saying I had 30. I had 30. I had Pain of Salvation on my list. I had Pure Reason Revolution. All these, you got to pare them down after a while. You got to cut it down. Otherwise, we'll go until 3 in the morning. But Pekka Pajola, I was lucky enough to actually see him play in New York City, and he was a monster player, and just a great composer. This was I like this one, Visitation, beautiful symphonic album, but a great jazz rock player, played with Mike Oldfield. And then also later on he did like more like symphonies, actual symphonies. And his son is a very talented Veneri Pajola, very talented trumpet player, great, also great in his own right. One of the best American prog albums. They were a one and done band, Polyphony, without introduction. I don't know if you guys know Polyphony. They were from Virginia, kind of ELP influenced, very heavy keyboards, but there's guitar, vocals, pretty rare. I tried to reissue this decades ago. The master tapes are lost. It's been reissued on LP and CD. You could find it. There's some bootlegs of it. Great US prog albums. One of the best US prog albums. A guy that I can't believe none of you guys mentioned this guy, Jean-Luc Ponty, great violinist. I mean, it just slipped right past all of you. I don't understand that. From Germany, one of the greats, Popol Vuh, their first album, sort of, cosmic music. Just they went through a lot of stylistic changes, but real deep, intense stuff. One of the great unknown fusion albums, jazz rock albums from Sweden. They made 2 albums. Pop Workshop. George, you hip to these 2 albums?
No.
Tony Williams plays on this one. Lodek Gulgowski from Made in Sweden, the keyboard player. That guy's a monster. He's on here. Zbigniew Namlowski. Yanni Schaefer's playing guitar. Yanni Schaefer plays guitar on both albums. Just treacherous stuff. Another band, these guys, it's a shame. These guys should have gone somewhere. I don't know what happened to these guys. Band called Porcupine Tree.
I heard they just put out their last album.
Yeah, they could have been something. I don't know. Maybe they didn't get the right push. And then another great, I got two more. So this band made 2 albums. Pork Pie, Jasper Van Hoff's band. They made The Doors Open, which I think was the second. And the first one is called Transitory. maybe I have them backwards. It's the first one, Transitory. Charlie Mariano, Philip Catherine on guitar, Jean-Francois Jenny Clark on bass, Aldo Romano on drums on this one. And then there was a lineup change, and Bo Steve came in on bass, and the great John Marshall from Soft Machine took over the drum kit. 2 great jazz rock albums.
Yeah,
great. And the last is a French band that I've mentioned when we did the show on France. Potemkin, kind of Zool, dark, prog, jazz rock, great shit. So that's what I got for P.
Cool. All right, I'll blow through mine. I didn't jot down albums, but those are just bands here. Porcupine Tree, obviously, from Scotland. Palace. Nobody mentioned Procol Harum. Mine.
I've been talking about them all week.
Pendragon, Pagan's Mind. I had Pain of Salvation. I had Pantomime.
I put, didn't I put out a Pantomime album? I think
you did. You did actually. Yep. Panzer Ballet. I had Alan Parsons Project. I had Passport. I had Jaco Pastorius. Pathos Ray, another cool prog metal band. Pavlov's Dog. Pentwater, really cool, obscure, like American heavy prog band. Simon Phillips Protocol. Picchio Dal Pozzo. Piranha. Pollen. Power of Omens. Poverty's No Crime. Cozy Powell, great couple solo albums. Praxis, Present, Presto Ballet, Kurt Vanderhoof's cool 70s inspired heavy prog band. Priam, Protocol, Psychotic Waltz, and Pulsar. That is my list. And then Steven's honorable mention, Palace, Beat the Drum from 98, Pendragon, Love Over Fear from 2020. And I can't believe nobody mentioned this guy, Anthony Phillips, Geese and the Ghost.
That would have been Anthony's pick.
It would have been Anthony's as well. Yes, that's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
I have a vague memory that he used to be around here sometimes.
Yeah.
Was that the guy who wore the yellow hoodie, right? A lot.
Yeah,
maybe something like that. He had all kinds of chaotic issues with control, and then he would call for help.
Does this ring a bell?
Honey, help!
That's right.
Anthony, we love you.
Yeah, we miss him, man.
All right,
back, Anthony. Come back.
He'll be back. He's ready for the ranking the top albums of the year, which we'll be doing in a couple weeks. So, all right, letter Q. Back to Lewis.
All right, my cues are very thin, so I couldn't find the CD, but my third one will be a Polish band called Quidam. I forget the name of the one album I have, so that's the one. That's the one.
That's the first one.
That one right there. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty good neo-proggy stuff. My number 2 is a band that is mostly a metal band, but they did have a prog metal face. And lately they're different from what they're now back to being awesome. They went through a pretty shitty phase. I'm talking about Queensryche.
Yep.
And I think that Todd La Torre really, really revitalized this band and turned them back into something great, because they had turned it to complete shit. I'm sorry if this is offending people. 0 fucks given. They sucked. But now they're great. And I think that this is their most progressive album, Promised Land. It's an album that a lot of the guys who really dug the 80s metal stylings bitched about, but I fucking love it. I think this record is great, you know. And my number one has to be no other than Queen.
Love that album, man.
I mean, come on, right? The debut. But you can also go with Queen too. You know, one of these two is just it's a blueprint for how to make progressive rock that actually rocks and kicks ass. And I to this day contend that Freddie Mercury may be the greatest frontman there's ever been, second to none. Just a ridiculously awesome band. Dr. May on guitar, and Roger Taylor on drums, and John Deacon on bass. And he was also designing all their circuits, and he was an electrical engineer from the University of London. So, I mean, these guys were smart, they were talented, fucking awesome. So Queen, number one.
Cool. Eric.
The only Q I had in my entire collection is Queen. Nothing else. So I'm out.
Hey,
Keep yourself alive.
All right.
It's good, man. It's good.
Queen is good, but that was it.
Queen was great, man.
Now you get some ideas.
Yep, I say I do love Queen, but I personally don't put them quite in our category. But you can do whatever the hell you want.
That's right.
Thank you for giving me permission, Chad.
That's right. That's
I was
right.
a little hesitant because
Next
you know
time
I'm
you
a
ask,
wilting flower.
you
And I
ask
just
next
went ahead
time. I
for
know
it anyway.
you're a little. Sometimes you're a little brazen.
I know,
Wow.
I know. Just a little.
All right, I guess
Yeah,
that's
Chad.
me, right?
Yep.
Okay, my number 3 is a U.S. band, trio, a little bit of Genesis, a lot of bit of ELP. That'd be Quill, their one and only album. It's called the Sursum Corda. Pretty cool album. My number 2, to echo Luis, would be Quittem, their first one. They got a couple albums out that are quite good. This one I still think holds up as their best. And my number 1 is a space rock band from Belgium, Quantum Fante. Great,
nice.
great space rock band. Eric, if you don't know these guys, you should add to your cues. Here's your cue. I got to add some more of their stuff to my collection as well, but I love this one. This one's, geez, it's hard to read in the dark. I can't read the name of it. It starts with a U. Ugis Uni. I'm going to destroy that one. But there's a great song on here called Snowballs and Ghostlands, which has really great flute. Reminds me a little bit of Camel meets space rock. Really cool stuff. So my number 1, Quantum Fante. And 2 quick honorable mentions. I guess we'll just do them because there's not much. From Ohio, Quark Space.
Love them.
Kind of space ambient psych stuff. And I don't have the actual album on me, but I'm going to go with Empire from Queensryche, which I always like that album.
Cool.
There we go. There's the cues.
Chuck.
All right. Well, 2 of them already been mentioned. Queensryche, Promised Land. And then Quidam, their first album. Their first album to me is the album that holds up the most, the best of them all. So kind of like a Campbell-like influence there, but a bit harder, probably like a little bit that they at times they sound a little bit like Riverside. They could remind me of that at times and so, but not as good as Riverside. And then my number 1 is Quiet Sun, once again.
Ah,
Good choice. George.
All right. Number 3 is Pasta Prague, Kelevecchia Locanda. This is one you'll like, Eric, for sure. Kind of like a tall vibe in parts, a classical influence on a lot of it, flute and violin. Also from Italy, Andrea Corderoni, Italian guitar player. This is fusion in the electric band vein. His last album is actually like a prog rock Guitar Hero kind of album. So he's got 5 albums. Number 1 is from Poland, Cortado. Again, you would like this, Eric. This is a quartet fusion record. Pretty typical of the electric band kind of a sound. 2 albums. The only honorable I picked out was from Japan, Quadrim, Japanese instrumental prog shred kind of an album. One and only album. That's it.
Ken.
There are two of my three have been mentioned. Quella Vecchia Loconda is the first album. If you like PFM, you'd like Quella Vecchia Loconda. Very, very similar sound. Violin, great band. Chuck mentioned Quiet Sun, Phil Manzanera's basically the band he had before Roxy Music. When he was doing Diamond Head, he reformed Quiet Sun, and really great record that ultimately kind of evolved into 801, Phil Manzanera's other band. And then the last one of the three before I hit the honorable mentions, and I'll be curious if any of you guys know, I think maybe Pete might. Michael Quattro in collaboration with the Gods. Any of you guys know this album? So Michael, you guys know Suzi Quattro?
Yes.
This is Suzi Quattro's brother, Michael. And this is an album he did on United Artists 1974, I think, or 75. Keyboard player. I mean, this guy's playing everything. He's got ballroom piano, electric piano, Mellotron, Elka piano, mini Moogs, mini Korg, wah-wah pedals. I mean, he plays a theremin. Rick Derringer plays on here, guess on one track. It's instrumental, symphonic, heavy prog. This album has always been in the bins for about $1. I literally took the $1 price sticker off a few hours ago, and you could always find it. Came out on CD.
Stephen will be mad at you for taking the sticker off, right?
It just came out. It actually just came out on CD in Japan. Got an authorized release this year. Really a very nostalgic album for me. I picked this one up about, I don't know, must have been about 40 years ago, and still in my collection. My honorable mentions. I'm gonna get rid of the CDs first. Quantum Fante. If you like Ozric Tentacles, you're gonna like Quantum Fante. Queensryche, Rage for Order, produced by my friend Neil Kernan. Quidam started out with a female singer, eventually morphed into a band with a male singer, but always stayed good symphonic prog. From Brazil, a great classically influenced symphonic prog band, lots of violin, Quaterna Requiem. Love this band. They put out a few really good albums. One I'm surprised none of you guys mentioned yet. Catermass, Peter Robinson, who went on to play with Brand X, with also John Gustafson, played with Ian Gillan, and he had a band called Bullet, and great heavy Hammond organ stuff. This one's very obscure, but it's pretty out there, but it's great. A band from Australia called Quasar. This is their second album. It's kind of avant-garde mixed with jazz rock, mixed with King Crimson. It's crazy shit. It's really good. And then Chad mentioned Quill. This is the first pressing, if I remember correctly. Is this the one? Yeah, this is how Greg put it out originally. It was a CD in an LP jacket.
Hey, do you know where in the U.S. they were from?
Where what?
Where in the U.S. they were from?
I don't know. I don't know. It says it was recorded in Santa Barbara, but to me, California is like this big amorphous blob. To me, San Francisco is a 5-minute drive from Los Angeles. I just don't know. You could tell me. I just don't know. So anyway, those are my cues.
There have been so many bands with the name Quill. It's amazing. There's
Well,
like a
the
stoner rock band
Swedish-
going by the name of the Quill right now. There's the Quill Bev Bevan drummer's band's name is the Quill. So many.
I like the Swedish stoner rock band, the retro hard rock band. That first album was fantastic. It wasn't so crazy about the ones that done since, but that first one was great. The real treat for prog fans go digging for that Michael Quattro in collaboration with the Gods. He made other albums, made a lot of albums, and they all suck donkey dick. But that one, in collaboration with the Gods, that's a killer record, and you'll find it cheap. You'll thank me.
Not about the donkey dick though.
Yeah, I know, right?
Never.
No judgment
Never about
be
the donkey
passed
dick.
on those who
Never.
partake of such, hefty pastimes.
Hey,
That's right.
what goes on in Mexico stays in Mexico.
That's right. All right, my number 3, Quella Vecchia Locanda, the second album. Both are really good. Can pick either one of them. That's my great Italian prog band. It's a shame they didn't do more. I'm surprised nobody else. Well, Ken had it as honorable mentions. I love the Quatermass album. I think it's really good. I know Eric was talking the other day. He listened to it for the first time and wasn't crazy about it. I love this. To me, this is like ELP on kind of steroids.
Yeah.
More
It's-
a little heavier.
It's like more a hard rock. It's almost like a hard rock album without guitar.
Not guitar, right? Yeah. I know it'd probably be even better if it had guitar in it, but I think.
And you got Black Sheep. You got Black Sheep in the family.
Right.
on
The
there.
reason why
It needed guitar,
need a guitar, right, Eric?
indeed.
But yeah, the Richie Blackmore
no
wants
vocals.
to leave Deep Purple based on hearing that song. So it's kind of a little
Okay.
little
What
notoriety.
year was that?
1970, I think.
70?
70? Yeah, 1970. 1970. And my number 1's got to be Queensrÿche. And
What an album.
yeah,
What
I
an
mean,
album.
Operation Mindcrime is the album I picked, but I like all of their 80s albums a lot. The album that Lewis held up, I think, was their last strong album in the early 90s, and then they went through many, many years of suckiness, and their last 4 with Todd singing are incredible. Their most
Superb.
recent album this year is
Superb.
Amazing.
Mhm. Yeah,
Amazing album. Yeah.
superb. Mhm.
so good.
Mhm.
And the
I
only
saw them
honorables
on
I
that
had,
Mind Crime tour.
yeah, good stuff. Yeah, that's I caught them very early on. I saw them open up for Iron Maiden at Radio City Music Hall on the Power Slave tour, and that was they had just put out Warning. No, I saw them on the Warning tour, open for Kiss, I believe, and then I saw them on the Rage for Order tour, open for Iron Maiden at Radio City Music Hall, and they were so
Nice.
spectacular back there. And,
I saw them open for Def Leppard on the Hysteria tour.
Mm.
They were doing Mind Crime as opener in the round.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. And my honorables, I had Quark Space, Quantum Fantai, and the Quiet Room. Anybody remember the Quiet Room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metal
Yeah.
band?
For that name.
Yeah, they kind of disappeared off the face of the earth as well.
The
Another
first
time.
album was prog metal, and then the second album they went like new metal. It was
Yeah,
weird.
it's very strange. And then I never heard another thing from them. So
No,
all right, Stevens, number 3, he has Queen 2, and he says, yes, I know it's cheating.
I don't think so.
We didn't say, nobody said no, Queen. That was.
I
good.
know I'm reading
Absolutely.
verbatim what he put on here.
he's
Number
talking
2,
about when we did the show. Is it Prague? He said that they weren't.
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, most people think of Queen's Prague album as probably Queen 2. It's whatever. Quantum Fantai, Yamiya Orisha from 2019 is his number 2. And then number 1, Queensryche Rage for Order from 86. And does he have any honorable mentions? None, he says. Okay, so we'll move on to R. Back to Lewis.
All right. So my
Rush-
number
Rush
3,
is our Hall of Fame, by the way.
Oh, Rush, that's right.
Yes.
Rush's Hall of Fame.
that should go without saying.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we'll just spend all day talking about Rush.
Yep.
Anyway, my
Not
number
that there's
3.
anything wrong with that, but yeah.
I could do that.
No, but is an Italian band, more past the prog. As you can see from what we're talking about, for people who don't like to do Italian because of the lyrics, you're really missing out. Go listen to some Italian prog. This is Il Rovescio della Medaglia. This means the downside, and this album is called Contaminazione. Awesome. I love this record.
Yeah, good choice.
That's my number 3. My number 2 is a Swedish band. Let me see if I can get rid of the glare. This is the band is called Ritual.
Mm.
Mhm.
This record kicks all kinds of ass. It's a Hemulic voluntary band. Love it. It's the only record of theirs that I have. but it's a record that I pull out and listen to every year. I fucking love this thing. My number one record, I couldn't find the CD, but it's a record that I think Mr. Golden may be quite familiar with. It's by a Polish band called Riverside, and it's called Rapid Eye Movement. From my perspective, they're great, but they were never as great as they were when they were initially releasing their albums. I think that those records were their best. And then they took kind of sort of a, they had the Porcupine Tree transform, for lack of a better term. They started to adopt a heavier sound. I miss Piotr, their guitarist. He wasn't a close friend, but he was a really, really sweet guy. And it's kind of, it always sucks to think about the fact that he's gone. But yeah, it has to be Riverside. My number one, Rapid Eye Movement, is my favorite record of theirs. I love it.
Thanks.
And my only honorable mention for R, I mean, there's lots of bands, but I don't want to spend all night. I actually really like this. It's a fusion album. It's called Relocator. So, self-titled album. This is pretty good. It's not as I mean, it has electric violin, which is a plus for people who like that. I happen to like violin, so I enjoy it. Derek Shrinian is a guest keyboard player on this album. So
Eric's in, violin and Shrinian.
Yeah, and it is some good shit. I would highly recommend. It's self-released, but it's a beautiful album, Relocator. Right?
Cool. Eric.
Are we gonna do the honorable mentions at the same time for R?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Lewis just did. So yeah, we might as well. Yep.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I saw Chad do it. I thought that was a new.
It's fine.
I'm blaming you, Chad. Fuck you.
All right.
This is for Steven. I left the sticker on, RPWL. I really liked these guys. Floydie, I liked the vocalist. I think the guitar player was terrific. They can get a little samey, but I really like them. Good band. This might be an oddball, but I'm going with Todd Rundgren, Healing. I love Todd. He's obviously all over the place. He can go from pop to whatever, but I think he's got a lot of good prog stuff as well. Obviously, Utopia started out more proggy than anything else, but Healing for my number 2. And I got to go with Return to Forever, the obvious choice for number 1. And I think the only honorable mention, I went through my R's, it was kind of, and even this, maybe I shouldn't say it because it's kind of an but a band you might want to give it a try, Radiohead. I have a little trouble with Tom York. I know Pete doesn't. I have trouble with the vocals, but I think there's a lot of good atmospheric stuff that they have going on. In the music.
Rainbows.
And in Rainbows, and I think I have 3. I've got OK Computer, that one. But I like the music. The vocals for me sometimes are hard to sit with, but they're definitely a band that's worth a listen. Maybe a little outside of our normal discussions.
I don't know, man. I think I just want to say that the reason I don't like them doesn't have much to do with their music. It has to do with me meeting them in Mexico when they did the Pablo Honey. And I almost got into a fight with the singer. Mm-hmm. And ever since that day, I can't reconcile the fact that they can barely play their instruments, but the singer is a very smart guy, and he puts together some really good shit. And that record In Rainbows,
superb,
is brilliant, and it really fucking fries my grits because I want to hate it, but I can't. Right? And the only reason I heard it is because the Mara, our merch lady, mentioned the sucker, and she wanted to know what I thought of it. And I told her I fucking hate these guys. I told her the story of that fight at the bar and all that. I don't know, you got to listen to it, and I did. And and it's based on this Herman Hesse, novel. It's a brilliant fucking record. Like it's unimpeachable. I just have a mental block with this motherfucker that I hate, right? But it's a good record. Yeah.
I've tried, man. Music puts me to sleep. I don't know.
I'm with you.
One thing though, for all the fanboys and girls and in betweens, if you go to YouTube and and listen to the stems, because you can hear just the bass track or just listen to the pure instrumental tracks of a lot of these songs, you will realize that they're pretty putrid. And I'm not just saying that to be a dick. Objectively, they suck. So it's a testament to the fact that the sum of the parts really is far greater, than each individual little element. The bass player in particular, oh my God, dude, I don't know your name, but what the fuck? Anyway, buy a tuner, and just listen to it. But if you like conceptual records, they're really good. They just are. They really are.
I love he just spent 10 minutes shitting all over the band. And then, yeah, but if you like conceptual albums, really.
They have a lot of
They have
fans, so it'll
good
be
concepts. I just wish they would hire different musicians.
That's great.
All right, Chad.
Okay. Let's exhale from that a little bit. My first R, even though it's a cover album, I like it better than all of his regular solo works, and that's Jordan Rudess. I really like this Road Home album he did with all the guest stars and all the classic prog stuff on here. Really, really solid cover album. Number 2 would be Renaissance. And I got to go with Ashes Are Burning. Just a solid, amazing album. And my number 1, I have absolutely fallen in love with this over the last calendar year, and that's Return to Forever's Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy.
My favorite of them all.
Absolutely phenomenal album. Love it, love it, love it.
Mhm.
A couple honorable mentions. One is Ragnarok. Really gorgeous, more acoustic based, folk prog, really beautiful album. That's their first one there. Another one, an electronic guy out of California, Jonas Reinhardt. I don't know if anybody knows this. Cool electronics, prog stuff. Maybe takes a little bit of cue from something like Synergy, Larry Fast. Riverside, I still go back to the very first one, Out of Myself. That's where I first heard him. Great album. And my last one, going back to more ambient electronic, would be Steve Roach. Now, some of his stuff is real quiet, but he came and played Nearfest and did a set of more of his upbeat material, and it was great. He had a great slideshow where movies behind him. We ended up putting a live album out of it. He actually made a song on here called Near Storm, which is sort of dedicated to Nearfest, which is pretty cool. So if you're looking for something a little more upbeat, want to check out Steve Roach, Storm Surge from his Nearfest set. Really great live album. There's my R's.
Cool.
R.
Chuck, what do you got?
All right, it's your turn. It's your turn, Chuck.
All right. My number 3 is Renaissance, Turn the Cards. My number 2, Return to Forever, the anthology. It just cleans up all of the murkiness that was on
That's
all of
for
the
those
Return
who
to
can't
Forever.
decide, Chuck, right?
Oh man, the thing is, but it's still missing some songs off of it, but it just makes every single song that much more clear and much better. And my number 1,
the remastered stuff on there is good.
Oh, yeah.
oh, it's awesome. And then everybody knows who my number 1 is going to be.
Roxy Music.
Roxy.
And then my honorable mention, Rain Tree Crow.
Japan, instrumental version.
Of Japan.
Nice.
Good album.
George.
My number 3 is from Japan, Resonance Vox. This is an early 90s fusion band featuring Kazumi Watanabe. He finished his Gramavision contract. The last album of that, Pandora, is the first album of this band, and then he did 3 albums with this band. This must-have crushing stuff. Number 2 is from California, Redemption, my buddy Nick's band. Like Dream Theater meets Symphony X, really good vocals, great guitar playing.
Is that with Ray Adler?
Well, yep.
Yes.
Ray Alder.
Older.
Number 1, of course, Return to Forever. This is the best album I've ever heard, so that made it easy. Honorables, this from Chicago, fusion band called the Renegades, 3 albums. Started out as a trio. In the later versions, they got Chris Siebold from Kick the Cat on guitar. They haven't put out an album since 2007, but they still gig out, and he's always with them when they gig out. And Tim Sicer plays bass now.
Nice.
From District 97. And a guy I was surprised I looked has 19 albums, Jordan Rudess.
Yes,
19
albums.
19 albums.
Wow.
No idea.
I mean, I only have like 5 of them, but the ones I got, I enjoy a lot. This one,
That one's good.
songs, 2 cheesy vocal songs with Kip Winger, but the 6 instrumentals on this are pure fire. This is like Liquid Tension level instrumentals, and the guitar playing on it, Steve Morris, Vinnie Moore, Greg Howe, and Satch. So pretty good playing.
I'm pretty sure that even Jordan Rudess didn't know he had 19 albums. Like, wow.
If he records another 120, he could catch Rick Wakeman.
There you go.
Yeah, sheesh. Another one just came out.
Wow.
Hey, Red Planet's good. I don't know if anybody has that one. Red Planet's good.
Yeah. He just announced he has a new album coming out in the spring.
Crazy. All right, Ken.
Okay, we're gonna have some repeats. I'm just because I'm the old man. I put 3 in my Hall of Fame: Renaissance, Return to Forever, and Rush. So probably surprised you by sticking Rush in there, but they had a pretty great body of work up until they became the Police. So my top 3, band from Germany, Release Music Orchestra, Garuda. This is their second album. Oddly, never put out. None of their albums ever came out on CD, at least not legitimately. They recorded for Brain. Kind of mix of kraut rock, jazz rock, Canterbury. Great, just really great shit. It's almost hard to describe. Just killer musicians. Later on, they got a little slick, and they started to sound a lot like Kron. So, but if you like Kron, actually, sort of from the same school. Next band I have, where is he? It's a guy. Some of you guys know. Terry Ripdahl.
Yes.
Great Norwegian guitar player.
Yep.
This is my favorite album of his. Whenever I Seem to Be Far Away. It's a beautiful album. Got the Mellotron on it. Recorded for ECM. Sort of prog meets classical meets jazz. It's just a beautiful record. And then my number 1, very sentimental attachment to this record, Riverside, their first one, Out of Myself.
Yep.
They dropped another single from their new album today. New album will be out in January, I believe. So, and you can get exclusive color from our website if you're into collecting colored vinyl. So my honorable mentions, I'm going to get rid of the CDs first. Radio Massacre International, record for Cuneiform, great. Saw them play in Philly in a church at University of Pennsylvania with a light show, and they were fantastic. One of the few neo-prog albums that I'm kind of attached to. I turned Steve Reed onto them. Rain, very sort of Steve. Pete, I'm sorry, Pete. I sent this to you as well, right? I think you heard this. It's kind of.
I think Andy sent it to me, actually. Yeah.
I have that record. It's
very good. Very good. They have a new one coming out soon.
It tells us. No, that's a different band.
Not Andy Edwards Rain. Okay.
No. It was a guy. It was a guy who recorded on the name of Rain, and this came out in 2004. And
it's Cerulean Blue, yeah.
Cerulean Blue, and it's just kind of an emotional concept album. It's pretty cool. Great one that I wish I had the money to own an original copy of. Raw Material, Time Is.
Yep.
This is their second album, very much like Van de Graaff Generator. This was released on RCA Neon back in the day. My buddy Nick Van Dyke, Redemption. This was the second album we did together, The Fullness of Time. He's made some great ones since then. This is a personal favorite, but I could listen to anything that Nick does. He's a great writer, not a bad guitar player either. Switching over to vinyl, Chad mentioned Ragnarok from Sweden.
Yep.
Great band. The band none of you guys mentioned. Surprise. Refugee.
Oh, yeah.
Post Nice, right? Current band from Norway, which I think are really good. Ring Van Mobius. Got that retro prog sound, nailed it. You know, you got a little Van de Graaff in there, a little ELP, a little bit of everything. And they put out some really cool videos. I don't know if you guys know Ring Van Mobius. They have 2 albums. Highly recommend them both. Il Rovescio della Medaglia, Contaminazione. This is really, in my opinion, their only good album, but it's a really good album. The other albums are kind of hard rock albums, and I don't think particularly exceptional anyway, but this is a great one. If you like, you know, kind of classically influenced Italian prog, the great Roxy Music, of course. We love Roxy Music. And the last band I got here from Norway, Rufus. This is their second album, Ransheart. First one was called Newborn Day, more organ driven. This is their second album, Håkon Graf, who played with Blowout, and this one a little more symphonic sounding. And yeah, there's some flute on here as well, female singer. Good shit. Yeah.
This one's quite good as well.
Yeah, that's Newborn Day. That's the first one. Yeah. So their third and fourth albums are good as well, but the first 2 are the killers. And that's what I got for the letter R. There were a lot of R's. I had to cut the list out.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in R. I had a hard time on my number 3. It was down to like 2 bands, and I was like, God, which way do I go, George? Which way do I go? And I ultimately went with one that I just think I listened to a little bit more than the other, although I love the other band as well. Number 3 for me is Redemption. Killer band. As much as I love Fate's Warning, there are times where I think I enjoy Ray and Redemption just a tad more. It's hard. Both really, really great bands, but I think Redemption have been really, with Ray as vocalist, all their albums are just extremely good. I'm not as nuts of them with Tom from Evergrey on vocals. I love Tom. I love Evergrey. I just think that he makes them sound too much like Evergrey. Strange. The other band I was talking about was Riverside. They're in my honorable mentions. I love Riverside as well, but I gave a slight nod to these guys. Number 2 is Renaissance. Turn of the Cards, my favorite album by them, but you know, you could easily pick Ashes Are Burning or Scheherazade or Song for All Seasons. I mean, so many classic albums, one of the most unique bands of all time. Love Renaissance, love Annie. And number 1, it's got to be Return to Forever. I changed my favorite Return to Forever album like the wind. If you would ask me a couple months ago, I think when we did the ranking, I picked Where Have I Known You Before. There are days I picked Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy. This week, I'm going with Romantic Warrior. All their albums are great. One of the best bands of all time. That's my number 1. And let's see, what do I got? Honorable mentions, Riverside, of course. Rain, the other Rain, Andy Edwards and John Jowett and company, the current neo-prog Rain. Rare Bird, Raw Material. Eric Norlander and the Rocket Scientist guys. Really cool, kind of like modern prog and pop. Michael Romeo from Symphony X. He has put out 2 killer prog metal albums, solo records.
The second one is a lot better, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the first one a lot, but I agree with you, Lewis. The newest one from this year,
man,
kills, absolutely kills. So
He was on my list up until about 3 hours ago.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to not mention him here. Royal Hunt, okay, another cool prog metal band. Roxy Music, of course, Todd Rundgren also, Terry Ripdahl as well. And the last band, I like these guys a lot. I think they only ever released the one album that I have, Rumpelstiltskin Commune. Very cool, obscure band from the 70s.
Swiss band. They were from Switzerland. They only did the one.
I bought that from you, Ken, like a million years ago on CD. It's probably long out of print, but really cool little prog obscurity from the 70s. So that's what I got. And Steven's got, let's see, number 3, a band called The Room. album called Open Fire from 2012. It says a UK crossover prog act with 3 albums. Open Fire is their debut. Number 2, Roxy Music, For Your Pleasure. And number 1, not surprising, he picked Riverside, Anno Domini High Definition from 2009. Great album.
Mhm.
And then he's got honorable mentions, RPWL Wanted from 2014, The Raptor Trail, New World from 2016, who are an American 3-piece from North Carolina who incorporate pop, Americana, and even some Southern rock into their melodic prog sound. They have released 3 albums. And last, Retrospective, the band called Retrospective, the album is Latent Avidity from 2019. So here we have it.
Retrospective, actually a pretty good band. If you like Riverside, they're very much along those
Similar,
lines.
yeah. Cool. And of course, we've got our Hall of Famer for R, which is Rush. Yeah, Rush probably would have been my number 1
Yeah.
easily, but cool. So we don't have many to go. So we don't have much time left in 2022. So we will blaze through the rest of the alphabet over the next couple of weeks. I do want to let everybody know watching that not this coming week, but the week after, I will be away on a business trip. So we will not have Hudson Valley Squares or In the Prog Seat that week. So we'll have to play catch up the following week. So we will do that. And yeah. So other than that, anybody else have any last things to say as we say goodbye to PQ and R?
It's good to be back.
It is good to have you back.
man. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, man. Mhm.
Absolutely. Ken, you got anything really new and noteworthy coming into the shop this week that people should know about at lasercd.com?
Yeah, we had a ton of stuff. From Finland. I don't know if you guys know Samal, the band Samal. We got their new album. Very good retro 70s stuff. Gandalf, the new Gandalf's Fist is flying out of here. I love that. I love Giorgio. Probably not how you pronounce Giorgio's name, but they put out George Sessions, which is kind of like the early demo stuff. They kind of reworked it. We've got a new 2 CD version of Is I Move. They've expanded it.
Mhm.
Really, really good archival band called 25 Views of Worthing. It was a band, a Canterbury band, that got signed to Island Records, I believe in 1974. They recorded an album and it got shelved. And it came out and it lived up to the expectations. It's really, really good stuff. I'm trying to think what else. The King Crimson documentary, we've got that in stock now. Man, just tons and tons of new stuff. Yeah, a lot of good stuff on the site. And
Did you sell a lot of Morgable last week?
I did. And we gave away, if you, and I'll still do it, if anybody orders Morgable, I'll give you a free Christophe Godin related gift, a copy of Gno, Cannibal Tango.
Good album.
Yeah, another good album. And yeah, just maybe mention that we mentioned it here, mention it in the customer notes, and I'll make sure to include a copy for you as a free gift. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming in. There's a lot of stuff. Tomorrow, I'm going to be putting up a ton of inside out stuff. And well, let's see if we could. Let's see. Well, if I move my monitor, everything's going to fall off. So I just got 3 massive boxes just showed up from Germany from Inside Out. We're going to be putting up a lot of stuff at really great prices. They're blowing out some titles, so some nice back catalog pieces at really, really good prices.
Did you get the new Threshold in, Ken?
Yeah, I have it in stock.
Okay. Yeah. I
New
don't-
Threshold, yeah, Arena. The new Arena. I can't keep the new Arena in stock. It's crazy to me. It's so expensive. People keep buying it. Sold out of it. Yeah, you got it. And all I have is the idiotically priced $89 yearbook edition. And I don't understand the band, but you know what? Their fans don't care, and they keep buying it. So yeah, a lot of cool
I will
stuff.
give a plug to one album that just came out, literally just came out. It is absolutely fantastic. The new Elder in 8 passes.
Yes.
Terrific. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I need to buy that from Ken.
Yeah, I'll have they shipped them to me yesterday, I think. So I should see them this week.
Yeah.
So, oh, one
Absolutely.
thing, if I could plug, it's going to be coming in, and I mentioned this to Pete, and hopefully he'll review it. I tried to reissue this album about 10 years ago, band from Minnesota called This Oneness, and they put out this album 1974 called Surprise, and they couldn't find the master tapes, so I scrubbed it. And 10 years later, they reached out to me. The keyboard player reached out to me, said, "Hey, I have the tapes and I've been working on it." And he put out a beautiful 3 CD edition, and with a booklet. And they were a very, very interesting band. If you like, it's prog rock, but it's got a strong Mahavishnu flavor to it. And so and their later unreleased stuff that's on here is very much like in the Mahavishnu vein. And the interesting thing is that at one point they became Olivia Newton-John's backing band,
Really?
which is kind of crazy. Anyway,
Well, no, she's a guilty pleasure. So
yeah. So anyway, it's the band is called This Oneness. I mean, Prog Collectors have been after this album for years, and they did a really nice job. They went back to the master tapes, and it's real nice. So they're shipping copies to me. I think they ship them out today, and maybe we'll see it by the end of the week, if not early next week.
Sounds good.
Looking forward to that. Yeah.
Sounds good. And stay tuned for probably as we get later into December, we will have a kind of best of the year show here on In the Prog Seat. We will do the same thing on Hudson Valley Squares. And of course, everybody will be getting my countdown of my top 31 albums throughout the month of December, starting on the 1st, which is just 2 days away. So look for that as we will be counting down some of our favorite releases from this year. I think, George, we're going to do that on 4 Fusion Friday as well. Perhaps.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll do a special episode for that. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of that coming up because I think it's been a pretty good year for music overall. So lots to talk about. So until then, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together.
All the damn time.
For Lewis, Eric, Chad, Chuck, George, and Ken, I am Pete. Thanks for watching In the Prog Seat. See you next Tuesday, everybody. Have a good one. Stay tuned tomorrow. Don't forget, new album review day tomorrow. We've got a whole slew of them coming at you tomorrow. So check them all out. And till then, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.